Afternoon, Nick. You
Hey,
guys
Chris.
changed some of your run looks this past game, especially using a little bit more pistol. What went behind that decision to use that more? Do you foresee using that in the future? And how do you think Jalen and the rest of the running backs adjusted to that?
Yeah, I thought they did a good job. We've been working that all year. We've had different sets that we've been in the pistol with. We've been some different things under the center as well. Again, not a huge portion of what we've done, but worked yesterday, and every game's a little bit different. Our guys do a great job of preparing themselves with the ball handling, no matter what scenario we have. We ask them to put themselves into, whether that's same ball handling, across ball handling, under center ball handling, pistol ball handling, RPOs, RPRs. Like our guys work so hard. Jalen and Marcus and Tanner and the running backs work so hard to get that timing down. And it's something that and Coach Singleton does a great job, and Coach Tanny do a great job of just being like we work ball handling all the time, and everybody's on those details, and so because it's not as easy as just saying, hey, go to this or go to that. You got to do a lot of work of the fundamentals to get it right, and the players have done a phenomenal job of really working out all the details it requires to be in all those different sets. And so, obviously, hats off to our guys for working their butts off.
Go ahead, John, and then Martin.
Afternoon, Nick.
Hey, John.
I kind of, Jalen said something interesting after the game. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. He was talking about winning versus the standard you guys have set up. And he said it's very manipulative to the mind at certain points and the expectations as a whole in this season. How much do you address that or do you not address it? Because it seems like you talked about the guys not having fun losing, obviously, but sometimes it looks like they're not having fun winning.
I can promise you we're having fun when we win. I know that 1,000%. There's a difference between having fun and not being satisfied with what the product was on the field, right? The standard, not meeting the standard. And so when you don't meet the standard, you're always constantly going through your mind of, hey, here's what we could have done better. Here's what I could have done better, right? It always starts with you looking at yourself in the mirror. And what's interesting about that is I think that's always going to be a dilemma, because once you set a standard, your goal is not to stay at that standard. Your goal is to get a little bit better from that. And so it's always going to be interesting like that. And there was definitely some things that, there were some sloppy things that happened coaching, playing yesterday that need to be better. And so you think about that to yourself, like, man, what could have been here? But make no mistake about it, I know our guys are excited to win. We're excited to win a football game. But again, it's that hunger. It's that hunger of wanting to be great and be perfect. But there's got to be a balance, right? There's got to be a balance of having that. Hey, getting the win was the most important thing, and then also that drive to get better after every time you step on the football field, whether that's practice field or the game field.
Go ahead,
Thanks.
Martin, and then Jeff.
Hi, Nick.
Hey,
I was
Martin.
wondering if I could look ahead a little bit. You're obviously going up against the Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, a guy you know pretty well. Knowing him and knowing his defense as well as you do you think that helps you prepare for facing the Cardinals? And what kind of challenges do they present?
Remember, he knows us too, right? And so there's that. I would say they're doing a good job as far as their schemes and different things like that. I'm very early, Martin, in my studies there. Obviously, you come here and you work on the kinks that you get to work out from last game, and now we're early in our studies of Arizona. But they're doing some good things scheme wise. They got some good guys in place there. Buda Baker's a really, really good player, and so there is hey, we know this in this scenario. Jonathan knows some of the things we know, and we know some of the things he knows about us. So there is going to be a little bit of that. You can't think too much into that. You got to account for it, but not let it just completely dictate what you're doing offensively. But there's familiarity on both sides, and I think It's almost like we don't, the players aren't as the familiarity of the players is different, but it's almost like a division game in the sense of there's a lot of familiarity on both sides of what's happening.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then Brooks.
Hey, Nick, Jalen Carter played one of his lowest percentage of snaps. And I was wondering if, and it seemed like down the stretch he wasn't out there much. Was that a form of discipline that he wasn't playing as much after the penalty?
No, not at all. Not at all with that. That was, BG was playing a little bit inside there, right? And Fletch was having a really good game. And so some of those, and we weren't in 5 downs, excuse me, and some of their 2-minute drives, we weren't in some of those 5 down packages. So that was more of a product of the style of game and who we were playing at that particular time, with getting BG on the field with Hassan and with Josh, and so that was what the product was of that. Not a result of the penalty. We have a total faith in Jalen. He's had a lot of great moments and great plays throughout this year, and we're going to continue to need him to do those things to be the type of defense we want to be.
Go ahead, Brooks, and then Dave.
Hey, Nick, a tendency question. You guys have been fairly balanced run pass on first down, and then especially out of your 11 personnel packages. Once you guys get to that second and medium range, I'll qualify that as 4 to 7. Maybe that's different for you. Out of 11 personnel, particularly guys go to the pass. Do you guys go to that in terms of what you want to attack defenses? Is it more what defenses have been giving you? Is there a philosophy attached to that? I'm just curious from that.
Yeah, you always want to be aware of your tendencies, obviously. Now, and I don't know what the tendency on 4 to 7 says, because we treat it a little different. Like, everybody's a little different in how you treat a tendency, right? Sometimes your tendency that you look at is, what are we on 2nd and 1 to 2? What are we on 2nd and 3 to 6? What are we on 2nd and 7 plus? What are we on 2nd and 7 to 10? What are we on 2nd and 11 plus, right? That's sometimes how you think about it. But then you have to think about it too in the sense of a defense, right? What is the defense on a 2nd and 1 to 2? Where are their breaks, right? Where do they draw the line and say it's 2nd and pass to the? So all those things are taken into account. We never want to be real. Like, I don't want to say a number. I mean, I have numbers in my mind. I don't want to say them to you, but like, we have numbers in our mind where we think to ourselves, and I'll just keep these numbers to myself, but we think to ourselves that tendency is too high, right? I'll let you guys think about what that number can be, and then you try to do something about it. And so those are constant things you're looking at throughout the week of where you are, where the defense is on that, and like I said, like there's times and place for both. There's times and place, obviously, to run the ball there, and there's time and place, and then there's times and place to pass it there. You can only do one or the other, right? You can only run or pass. But always looking at that and trying to always account for our tendencies, fully understanding that you're going to have tendencies. Like, everybody has tendencies that we go against. Every offense, every defense has tendencies. You're just trying to make sure that they're not, damning to you, right? Or that you're giving the pulse to the defense of exactly what's going to happen on the play.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Zach.
And Nick, I know you mentioned that the players are definitely having fun after a win, but it wasn't a typical post-game locker room. I think that's fair to say after a win. How do you make sure things aren't too tense as you go to make the corrections this week?
Yeah, I think, again, it's a balance of, having that opportunity to have fun when you win. When we get back in here, right, we'll put the game to bed, and then it's back to business as usual. And then also wanting to play and to play to a standard that we know we're capable of playing. And so, nobody on this, because of the guys that we have on this team, nobody's going to be satisfied when you don't play to that standard. And that is, quite frankly, Dave, what I think makes these guys special, right? When they, why is Devontae continuing to get better and better and better? Because he has this inner drive amongst himself that is never satisfied, right? I mean, I said something to him yesterday. I'm like, hey, congrats on 1,000 yards. I know I took you out early in that Dallas game in 2021. Looking back at it, I wish I I wish I had. And he just wants more, and he wants more, and he wants more. And that's just one guy for an example. I'm just saying him as an example, but there is that balance because you do have to enjoy the wins. The wins in the NFL are hard to come by, and you have to enjoy it and have to have that balance because joy and determination to get better, you can have both. And I think that definitely starts with me, quite frankly, right? And there was moments in that game yesterday where I felt like I was too tense, and that, you know, on the sideline, and I need to be better about that. I have to do a better job, and if I'm going to ask the players to do a better job themselves, then I have to do a better job myself, and I definitely felt that yesterday out of myself.
Go ahead, Zach, and then Tim.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. Somewhat
Zach.
of a follow-up to that. What value or emphasis do you place on body language, and what are you seeing from the team, understanding it's subjective, from their body language and from your body language during the game as well?
Yeah, like I said, Zach, I need to be better in those scenarios. You know, when there's some high pressure areas, they got to see me calm, and not tense there. There's a time and place to be, you know, intense, and there's a time and place not to be. And I know that's something that I always have to work on as a head coach. And so that's something I am constantly working on. And so body language, I think, you know, body language, I don't know. I look more at actions than the body language, I guess, to say, if that makes sense. I know body language is a type of action, but I look more at the action of the players and the coaches and myself there as opposed to the body language. Did I answer your question, Zach?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Jimmy.
Hey, Nick, in respect to Gannon, in what ways did the way it ended here in Philly with him test your guys' relationship? And, what are your early thoughts on having a chance to compete against him this upcoming week?
Yeah, obviously all those questions have been asked and answered, Tim, and I have a great deal of respect for Jonathan and the coach that he is and the person that he is. I'm looking forward to going against him this weekend, and I know the players. You'll have to ask them, but I know the players that I've talked to, feel the same way. He was obviously we. Didn't finish the job last year, which all of us have the taste in our mouth of like, dang, wish we'd have finished the job. But there were still some special moments, a lot of special moments. I think we can all agree that there was a lot of special moments last year and also in 2021. And Jonathan Gannon was a big part of that. And anytime he thanks me for the opportunity or being here, I always in return thank him because his service to this team and the special things that we had done while he was the defensive coordinator here was enough payback for me tenfold. And so I value that relationship that I have with him. I'm always rooting for Coach Gannon. Very similar to how I root for Coach Shane, for Coach Steichen. But this will be the week that I will not be rooting for him, obviously.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Hey, Nick. It feels a little like Jalen's first instinct against the blitz is to extend the play as opposed to getting the ball out quickly. I guess I'm curious, A, if you agree with that, B, if that's the design of the offense at times, and C, if like adjustments are needed in giving him more opportunities to hit hot routes when there's the threat of a blitz.
Yeah, obviously things are done differently for there's different ways to attack the blitz, right? And sometimes the blitz, they bring more than you can protect. Sometimes the blitz tests your rules, right? I thought Jalen did it, going back and rewatching the game, I thought Jalen did a nice job against the blitz. You're not going to be perfect against the blitz. But I thought he did a good job against the blitz, and we faced a lot of blitz yesterday. And to me, Jalen played one of his better games of the season last night. I was super excited how Jalen played against a team that challenges you quite a bit like the Giants. And so, but there's obviously going to be plays that he's going to want back, and there's going to be schemes that we want back, right? Whether that's I won't get into all the different options we have against the blitz, but there's definitely times where we want a different scheme on in that particular case. Again, you're trying to call the best play against the defense you're expecting and have answers for the different things they can do. And most of the time I thought we did. And I thought the offensive line did a phenomenal job of, handling the junk. And I say junk, they do so much, and it's not junk because it's good football, but they do so much. And I thought the offensive line did a great job. And like I said, were we perfect against the blitz? No, but it's football. You're never going to be perfect against a certain thing. But I do think that we handled things well. And I thought Jalen played a really outstanding game yesterday. A really outstanding game, and really was excited how he played yesterday.
We have time for 2 more, so we'll go to Josh and Olivia.
Hey, Nick, kind of a
Josh.
follow-up, I guess, to the tendency question, but as it pertains to a particular sequence. In the third quarter, you fought to a 3rd and 1 from your guys' own 34.
Yeah, Josh, I know where you're going with that. Obviously after second thought, I'll get to your second part of that question, but after second look, we're like, man, shoot, get under center, run quarterback sneak. No doubt. We didn't in that particular case. And, obviously we talked about that, and in that particular case, let's get under center and do it. But that doesn't mean I know you'll hold me to that, because there's time and place to do both. But, on second thought off of that, when it doesn't work, you always are going to think to yourself, well, hey, just get under center and do the sneak play. Go ahead, your second part.
Yeah, no, I guess if I could just follow up. So on the subsequent drive, I think you guys were pushed back even earlier in distance around the 20 or so. 3rd and 1, ran the play. Was that just a quick conversation or self-correction from the drive that just happened with Brian? What was that conversation like, or was it pretty quick?
Yeah. Are you saying the time we didn't sneak it?
No, so the following drive, when you guys had the ball back, you were pushed back even further. I think from somewhere in your 20.
And we did sneak it.
Yeah, 3rd and 1, you snuck it.
Yeah, just like I said, when it didn't go the way we wanted it to go the time before, we thought to ourselves, hey, probably could have done that here, and that's why we did it on that second one, Josh.
Last one here with Olivia.
Hi, Nick. You were asked last night about some of the mistakes that the team made throughout the game, and you said that you felt like they're easily corrected or can be easily corrected. But at the same time, we've also, obviously different situations in previous games that we've talked to you a lot about, just mistakes that have been made throughout games this season. What gives you the confidence that these are mistakes that are easily corrected, especially just going into week 17 when you got a couple games left in the season?
Yeah, no matter where you are in football, there's going to be mistakes in that game. It's the ultimate team sport. The other team is working their butts off too, and you're fighting against each other, and with the physicalness of the game and everything like that. I mean, there's going to be mistakes. I think what's encouraging is some of the mistakes, I think in that first half, I was so concerned about not leaving any clock for the Giants that I screwed up the clock, right? And so that's a mistake that, I think to myself, there's time and place to do that, and that particular time and place was not the time to do that. I think if you look through, Jalen not stepping out of bounds there, and having to kick a field goal after that. Again, that's a combination of, I said it last night, Jalen and I both are going to want that back. And I think those are easy. I think we've had spurts of playing good football, and, obviously the last 3 games, we weren't up to our standard, but, there was a lot of good things in this game. Yes, we had some mistakes, but there was a ton of good things. I mean, for the defense to do what they did on 3rd down, or hold Saquon Barkley to 2.8 yards per carry, or for the offense to be as good as they were on 3rd down, or the amount of yards we rushed for, the amount of yards we passed for, to have 2 guys over 1,000 yards. I think what can happen is you can get so weighed in and so zoned in on the negative things that you forget to look at the so many good things that are happening, right? And I think that's where the time we're in right now is, hey, you're coming off of 3 losses in a row, and you want everything to be perfect right now. Well, football's is never going to be a perfect game. It's never going to be a perfect game. you show me a perfect game by someone, I'll point out a couple of mistakes that happened that, for that. And so, again, like there were so many good things. And I talk about the 2 receivers having 1,000 yards. I talk about DeAndre Swift about to have first time 1,000 yards. I talk about how good the offensive line played. We'll clean up. We'll continue to clean up the mistakes. And guess what? The next game, there's going to be mistakes in that game. You just are trying to limit them, and you're just trying to pull back on them. And quite frankly, you're trying not to make the same ones twice. Those are the mistakes that you have that hurt you and haunt you. Is like when you make the same mistake twice. That doesn't mean that's not going to happen either, but that's what you're trying to constantly fix. But I think that there was so much good yesterday, and so much good that it's hard unless you sit there and look at it again, you got to correct the mistakes, and that's something we always are going to do. Win, lose, or draw, we're always going to work on correcting our mistakes. But I really, there was so much good in that game yesterday. We got to have to fix the mistakes and then focus on building off of the great things that we did yesterday and some of the great things that we've done throughout the year.